corniness of so many backdrops where you're like, that's not where the Golden Gate Bridge would be in the background of that shot, where like the car is going over the top of the hill type thing. So it's like there are certain gimmicks that I feel like all the San Francisco movies have, but I would probably feel that way about any city had I lived there long enough.
Well, it's like cable cars don't run across town. They run in a very small section of the city.
Right.
It's like Vegas when they show you Fremont Street that's for some reason seems 10 miles long, even though it's like there's like 4 blocks, like with the cowboy boot and stuff.
Yeah.
And people thinking or have a pensive mood inside the car. It's like, no, it's not that long.
I guess for Len, it would be, the lake is always just yonder. You're like, well, that's not the direction it would be.
Yeah.
What, like whatever the kind of,
well, we were talking earlier about Marvel movies, and a couple of the big ones were shot here in Cleveland. Winter Soldier and the first Avengers was shot in Cleveland. So you'll see a lot of Cleveland architecture, and every time I watch those movies, I go, that's not where that is. I know where that is. It's
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, actually, that one does not actually go there. It's a corridor.
Yeah. Can't fool me.
You can't cross the town that quickly.
Exactly.
That's the biggest one they do for cities. Is like, how do they get from one end of the city to another in like 2 minutes?
Which movie where the Harrier Aviate comes under the
Golden Gate?
The freeway right across the street from where I worked. We saw movies being filmed all the time. Not the 105. It comes under the 105 freeway in a movie, and then like 30 seconds later, it's down in Long Beach, down at the docks.
Right, where you're like, that would be like an hour. Yeah.
Which movie was it, Roger?
Was that the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it?
God, all of a sudden I'm just drawing a blank on what movie it was. Well, of course, Speed was my favorite. When the 105 freeway wasn't finished and they used Speed was where they jumped
True
over
Lies.
Oh, no, it was way after True Lies. I think it was like a... Bruce
Speed
Willis.
was after True Lies.
Oh, the one I was thinking about was Bruce Willis. He's trying to... His daughter, the bad guy's got his daughter.
Die Hard.
Chasing him. Probably.
Die Harder.
Yeah, one of the...
like
I Died Hardest.
Die Hard, The Reckoning.
Well, speaking of reckoning, we got to reckon with a tech show.
Oh, we do.
What?
My
We get to
goodness.
do a
How
tech
did
show?
it become 1/3
People
of
just
the
love
time?
chatting.
So
And so Allison, you're good with reading line 3, right?
get to read line 3. Yay.
Allison's reading line 3. So Roger, count Allison in, and we will go from there.
Oh, wait, how's this countdown work again, sir?
So I count down 3, 2, and then I don't say 1. The 1 is just heard internally in your head, and then you start.
Joking.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
In the 3, 2.
Terry Tyndall has supported independent tech news directly for 5 years. Be like Terry. Become a DTNS member at patreon.com/DTNS.
This is the Daily Tech News for April 26th, 2019. It's a Friday, and from Studio Feline, I'm Sarah Lane.
Fresh from the end game, I'm Len Peralta.
And this is Allison Sheridan of the Podfeet Podcasts.
And I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
Tom Merritt is out in Vegas today, having a good old time. We hope so, anyway. But the 4 of us are going to hold down the fort, and we're going to start with a few tech things you should know. Let's start with Uber. The company disclosed that it plans to raise up to $9 billion in its IPO at a market cap of up to $84 billion, which would put Uber at one of the largest IPOs of all time. Uber reports projected Q1 2019 revenue of between $3 billion and $3.1 billion versus $2.58 billion in revenue for Q1 of 2018.
Well, that sounds good. But Amazon at the same time revealed in its latest quarterly earnings that it's in the process of making free one-day shipping the default shipping option for Amazon Prime customers. Company CFO Brian Olsavsky stated the company has been working on improving its logistics over the past quarter, saying, "We're already starting down this path. We've expanded the number of zip codes eligible for one-day shipping," but added, "It will take us a significant amount of time to achieve." The company says it will reveal more details in the second quarter of the year.
And Slack released its S1 filing in advance of going public, reporting revenue of $400 million and a net loss of $139.8 million for its fiscal year, which ended in January. The company reported over 10 million daily active users, with more than half located outside of the US. Slack reported 88,000 paying customers, up 49% on the year, with customers paying over $100,000 annually for the service. That's up 93%. So that's a big jump. Slack reported that in the year, paid users spent more than 90 minutes per day engaged on the platform, and that over 1 billion messages per week are sent by users. Under risk factors, the company listed the need to create systems to stay in compliance with data regulations like GDPR.
That's really amazing to me that you can have a successful business with 88,000 paying customers out of 10 million daily active users. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, I know. It's a strange world we live in. Speaking of, well, I don't even know if you call it strange anymore, but we do have some Facebook updates. Allison, tell us what's the latest.
I am shocked to report that the New York Times reports that the New York State Attorney General's office plans to open an investigation into Facebook's unauthorized collection of 1.5 million email contact lists since May 2016. By the way, that's contact lists, right? Not contacts. Right. Facebook has stated the collection was unintentional and that the contacts were used to improve Facebook's ad targeting, build social connections, and recommend friends. Since reported by Business Insider last week, Facebook turned off the functionality and stated it was in the process of deleting the data. The company said it is responding to questions from the Attorney General's office.
All right, Allison. At this point in the world of Facebook, half the time I'm like, do we have to talk about Facebook again? But this is pretty significant. And I think at this point, my question to you is, when the company says, hey, we didn't realize what was going on and we're rectifying it best we can, how much do you believe them?
The first 8 or 10 times, I'm sorry that I breached. I'm sorry that I did something I said I wasn't doing. I'm sorry I kept doing something I said I wouldn't do anymore. We're a little bit thin, but did you guys report yesterday that user accounts are up, and it was up a fair amount on Facebook?
Yeah. The quarterly earnings report for Facebook. I mean, it's the company is not losing users. Certainly, worldwide, it is gaining the majority of the world's population.
I do think we need to get to a world where there are penalties for doing this. I mean, I'm glad to see the state's attorney's office looking into it, but let's put some meat behind that.
All right, well, this might make you feel even worse. Meanwhile, Facebook notified Ireland's Data Protection Commission that it discovered hundreds of millions of user passwords associated with Facebook, Facebook Lite, and also Instagram, which is owned by Facebook, stored by the company in plain text format on its internal servers. The DPC began an inquiry in relation to this issue to determine whether or not Facebook has complied with its obligations under relevant provisions of the GDPR. There's that acronym again. The Canadian government is looking into a similar issue as well. So, yeah, it's kind of a worldwide thing here.
Well, this one is not as bad, though, because this is a case of where they said, yeah, we were studying our internal stuff and look what we found. We found plain text passwords. So we screwed up again, but they came to them, right? This story is not about they got caught.
Yeah, no, it was
this
definitely
isn't working as designed.
Yeah, this is what happened. We're letting you know.
Yeah, that's going to go on for a little while, it appears. Well, iFixit responded to Samsung's request to pull its Galaxy Fold teardown, but apparently not directly from Samsung itself. iFixit said in a statement, quote, we were provided our Galaxy Fold unit by a trusted partner. Samsung has requested through that partner that iFixit remove its teardown. We are under no obligation to remove our analysis, legal or otherwise, but out of respect for this partner, whom we consider an ally in making devices more repairable, we are choosing to withdraw our story until we can purchase a Galaxy Fold at retail.
Who's the partner?
Yeah. And what leverage does Samsung have over that partner that they got this partner to say, oh, please, won't you take this down?
Yeah, I mean, iFixit is this is what iFixit does. So the fact that, the Galaxy Fold has been folded indefinitely is obviously plays into the story here, but it is somewhat odd for iFixit to say, listen, third party came to us, Samsung wants this down. We want to play nice with third party, so we're doing that. End of story. And maybe it is the end of the story. It's clearly Samsung wants to scrub all of the Galaxy Fold opinions until it gets a few things right, better, in the next iteration. But it's interesting that it was worded the way that it was worded.
Yeah. It definitely just makes you want to ask more questions. And I think the iFixit report was even more valuable than the reporters who all had, or many of whom had their devices break when on the Fold. Those were very interesting, and the number of them versus how many phones were out there was significant, I think. But nobody knew why. When you looked at the iFixit information that showed, like you guys talked about on the show, about how big that gap was, that, well, yeah, stuff's going to get in there. And then when you fold it, it's going to break when stuff gets in there. So that actually got to a root cause that was really concrete that we could all look at, not just, oh, you shouldn't have pulled off the screen protector that looked like every other screen protector. That almost felt like a red herring compared to what iFixit found out.
Well, and it, again, this is a quote that iFixit put out into the world, and somebody, feet were held to the fire. It seems, but it is again worded in kind of a funny way where it's like, you know what, we didn't actually have a real Galaxy Fold that we purchased at retail. So once we do that, then we'll, have a unit that we can be. I don't know. It's the whole thing is just sort of an odd story, and it makes it feel salacious because we don't have that third party information. There's just part of the story that's not being told.
Yeah, if it had just been Samsung told us to take it down, we would have gone, oh man.
Right, exactly. Like, of course they did. Yeah, Samsung got mad at iFixit type thing. iFixit's like, well, we've got this partner that gives us some models, and we'd like to get more in the future. So,
and they're real good about repairability. So yeah,
that as well.
Well, moving on. Oh, no, That one's yours. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Lime Scooters in Brisbane, Australia, have been making suggestive and offensive comments to riders after pranksters swapped audio files on certain vehicles. You heard that right.
Wait, the scooters were hacked. Doing it?
The scooters were talking to riders. Jeez. The scooters were hacked to make a variety of comments. Some of them were sexual in nature. Some of them were offensive in nature. Local papers in the city reported this information. Lime also said that the prank was not funny and that it was working to return the hacked scooters to their normal state.
So this would have been fun if they'd just done funny stuff. It's too bad that they turned to offensive and sexual stuff. They could have had fun with it.
Well, some people think that offensive and sexual is also funny, but Roger and I were talking before the show because when I used to live in a different part of Los Angeles, there were scooters everywhere. I mean, littering the streets, but also being widely used, and you could see, children and kids who are like for sure younger than what the minimum age is supposed to be to ride scooters, not wearing helmets, the whole thing, enjoying them very much. I stayed out of it. I'm too much of a fraidy cat to even ride a scooter ever, but they have since creeped into my neighborhood. And so you're seeing the same stuff. I just this morning walking my dog, it's early, it's 7 a.m., and I see a kid who's obviously trying to get to school on time, riding a scooter, and it's like, you're kind of in traffic and the whole thing. And the whole thing just kind of freaks me out. And there's all, assembly people in my neighborhood trying to figure out whether or not we ban these things. And that's a whole other topic. But when I hear about, pranksters making scooters say, offensive things, I think like, oh man, there's a bunch of kids riding these, so that's where it becomes something where it's like, it's not really all in good fun.
No, that just got icky. That was icky, unfortunately. That could have been a fun story, but it turned icky. Well, ProPublica, speaking of icky, ProPublica reports TurboTax uses deceptive design and misleading advertising to trick lower-income Americans into paying to file their taxes, even though they are eligible to do it for free. Intuit, which owns TurboTax, appears to be hiding this free option from Google search by adding code on its site telling search engines not to list TurboTax free file in search results. Senator Ron Wyden said in a statement that Intuit's practices are outrageous and that he plans to investigate further. Come on.
This story, it hits hard. Considering a lot of us paid a lot of taxes earlier this week or last week, gosh. But yeah, it is very much true that if you're below a certain tax bracket, you're making less than a certain amount per year, then filing taxes is free. And the fact that TurboTax is so widely used, I'm a TurboTax user. I've been using TurboTax for years, off and on, but I've used it many times, and it's always sort of like, let's hold your hand through this complicated process. We are here to help.
You feel good
for a small fee, of course.
Sure.
That for me, it's always been like, yeah, if you're a small business, maybe you pay for a certain tier, but to obfuscate the fact that it truly is free for a wide swath of people is pretty underhanded.
And if they really did put code in that exempted that part out of Google search, I mean, that shows intent, right? You don't just accidentally obfuscate the free part.
Right.
That's corporate greed at its very best. I mean, you're terrible people if that's true.
Well, okay, so let's say that TurboTax, did do this, and the folks behind it were trying to get away with something that has now come to light. Now what? They get fined. So, what happens to so many people who use the service each year?
Yeah, the fun part would be is if they make them go back programmatically and figure out who shouldn't have had to pay, but they probably don't have access to what your actual numbers were. So
yeah, exactly.
That would be hard to tell. Yeah, fat fine.
Well,
make them work in a homeless shelter or something. The executives, Come on.
Moving on now, Waterford Upstart, which is a project started in Utah, the state of Utah, and spread across 15 U.S. states, offers an online curriculum for children from low-income families and rural communities. All right. It was awarded an audacious project grant that's being criticized now by CCFC, or the Campaign for a Commercial-Free Childhood, who believe that online education in lieu of classroom and teachers will widen inequality. Nancy Carrison Page, she's an educational professor at Lesley University in Cambridge, Massachusetts, wrote as part of CCFC's letter to TED, TED as in TED Talks, the organizers of the Audacious Project initiative, quote, "Kids learn by playing, exploring, and interacting with adults, not by memorizing letters, numbers, and colors presented to them on screens." End quote. The Audacious Project offers a $280 million prize shared across 8 projects to tackle the world's toughest challenges. Roger, I know that this story caught your eye before the show, and wanted to get your take on why.
So one of the things that technology has kind of been lauded for was now everyone can have access to quality educational curriculum via their tablet, via their PC, via their smart TV. And one of the things that educators, at least the educators I've known that are friends, was that like you're missing the crucial component of the feedback of a person next to you, in front of you, where that's where they say a bulk of the learning happens when you have kind of a back and forth. As an adult, it might be different if you learn that way because you've already been through that process, right? I've already been through grade school. I've already been through high school. So for me to take and learn things online might be a different proposition than a child whose contact so far will only be limited to personal family members, right? Their mother, brother, siblings, and stuff like that. And it's very interesting, like where you have a project or the Audacious Project, which is designed to give cash money grants to projects to help solve an issue, and using technology, it sounds good, but at the same time, does it really achieve what you want it to do, right?
Roger, the thing I thought about when reading this, though, is that the Nancy Carlson Page is acting as though we are going to put out this curriculum that you sit in front of a computer screen and that's all that this child is ever going to get. I mean, you don't know that the adult isn't there playing it with them and asking them questions and interacting with them. You don't know that.
That is true, but this program or the Upstart program is targeted at economically impoverished and rural areas,
Right.
which typically have both parents or a single parent working. That you chances are that economic bracket will have less of that interaction that you're speaking of
Oh,
because of the economic situation that their parents will find. So
But
the argument isn't though that technology is bad, is that for that situation you might want to put money into something that will address their specific needs, other than assuming everyone that has access to technology will learn the same way.
Well, I don't know that they ever suggested that that would be as good as if they did have access to preschool. But if the child has no parent paying attention to them while they're sitting watching television versus no parent talking to them while they're learning something, I would contend that B was better than A. Not as good as having preschool available to them, for example. That would be a better situation. But if they don't have it at all, I don't see how having kids memorize letters, numbers, and colors is a bad thing.
Oh no, I think the thrust of the argument is not so much that this is bad in and of itself, is that the money could be better used for a program again that is more beneficial to those people in that situation.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of factors here that seem like they're not necessarily being stated, but are implied. And that is, how young do you need to be in a classroom with a bunch of other kids and a teacher?
These are pre-K children. These aren't
right.
first to
because I don't think if the story was about kids being able to take a lot of online courses, that there would be this sort of like, wait a second, are they really going to learn this college stuff? It's about being at a young enough age where it's not the same to be doing this remotely. Potentially not the same. Again, this is kind of new stuff. I found Carlson Page's quote of saying that kids learn by playing and exploring and interacting with adults, not by memorizing letters and numbers and the like. I understand that sentiment. I also don't necessarily feel like I did much more than do exactly that in a classroom with a bunch of kids and a teacher back in the day, depending on the teacher. But it's I don't think that it is one of these situations that's as easy as saying, if you're all there in a room together, you're going to learn better than you would otherwise. Really depends on the kid. All right, with that, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes or less, subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com. All right, Allison, we're going to move on to a discussion story that kind of came from you because you polled a lot of your own audience on the story. And I thought it was really apropos for this Friday that we're having. And that's about learning technology. So when we talk about how do you learn your tech, what are we talking about?
Well, the question I started thinking about was I create long form video tutorials for Don McAllister's Screencasts Online. They're 45 minutes. They're a deep dive into a single topic. They teach you everything you need to know about a piece of software. That's what I teach. But I started thinking about, how do people actually like to learn things? And so I pulled my audience in a couple of different forums. Do you read the manual? Do you use physical books? Do you just poke around in menus? Do you do a search for what you want to know and then just watch the video or read that little bit that you found? Or do you watch long form video tutorials, or do you read long form web manuals? And I think what was interesting about the responses is they were pretty much all over the map. And I pulled a couple of them out here. I just wanted to say was Rose. She was all over long form video. Johan starts with a book, even a paper book, which was crazy. Chris said, I used to read the manual, but now, you know what? These things are so complex. I learn a subset of it and I just ignore the rest of it. Rick and Dave both said they learn by doing. Kaylee was a poke and search kind of person. Alistair says, I just try to figure it out by myself. Dave talked about doing pair programming, where you pair up with somebody and program together, which I'm a huge fan of with my friend Dorothy. And then Caleb said, poke first. Then when I can't figure it out, do manuals. And if I can't figure out from the manual, that's when I go to the video and audio. And I thought that was interesting because it just covered the entire spectrum, that there's all these different ways that we like to learn.
Absolutely. I mean, I a couple of years ago now, I started teaching myself Logic, which is an audio editing program, and it's extremely complex, mostly used for music. I happen to use it for podcast production.
Mhm.
Who knows why I chose it, but that's the one that I use. And it is so much deeper than what I need to use it for, but I do run into problems every so often. And what I find almost, I don't think it's hilarious at the time because I'm usually really frustrated, but there's a help menu in there, right? So I say something like, captured freeze frame, or something that you think like it'll highlight the answer if it's available somewhere within this program, and the program will just be like, nah, don't have it. Well, you know who does have it? Someone on Google, because they've made a YouTube video about it, and then you kind of deal with someone's production of that tutorial video, which you either like or you don't like, or it's helpful.
Are they
or
crisp
it's
and
not.
right to it, or did they drag it out to make it a cinematic performance?
Exactly. Yes. And yeah, lots of shout outs to other things. And for the most part, it's like the answer that I'm searching for is somewhere out there, and I'll get there eventually. But it's funny how where I think it is most realistically going to be is often not the case anymore.
I'll actually give a shout out to Microsoft. Everybody hold on for me saying something like this, but I'm a big Excel aficionado, and the Excel help is extraordinarily good. Like, I would say 9 out of 10 times what I'm trying to figure out how to do, I can find it in Excel help. That is pretty much the end of the list of programs that I use where I would say help is how I find anything. One of my favorite things to complain about is people love Pixelmator. It's a darling of the Mac and now the iPad. I mean, people just love it. But their help manual, I'll say, okay, I need to learn how to do blah, blah, blah. So I find blah, blah, blah in the instructions, and it'll say, click on the icon for blah. And whatever that is, I don't know what it looks like. So they're telling me the icon, but I don't know how to find the icon because I don't know what it's called and I don't know what it looks like. So it all depends on how well the documentation is written, whether the people really took the care from somebody's perspective who doesn't know what they're doing.
Well, it kind of goes back to our previous story where I think it largely just depends on the teacher. Like, who is teaching you this thing that you're trying to learn? You're and most of us, we're talking about, non-pre-K folks, right? But
they're catching up, Sarah.
Yeah, they really are. I'm sure there's some pre-K logic kids who could teach me a thing or two, but there's just a lot of bad information out there, and we all kind of know that. We're pretty good at being able to file away clickbait stuff, and when it comes to getting information in general. But when it comes to tutorials, I find that, at least for me, sometimes I'm so kind of at the end of my rope and so frustrated that I end up, again, this is YouTube, but not always YouTube, but often just a video tutorial of somebody where I'm like, I don't know if you're a trusted source. I don't know if you're good at this at all, but I know that I need help. And so I'm searching for an answer from a complete stranger that I do not know on the internet to give me something else, when I should probably be reading the manual.
So at what point is there a limitation where you no longer, I mean, I guess this would be up to the individual, but where you can't glean information, where you can't teach yourself something? Well, like I wouldn't be able to self-teach myself how to spot weld or weld, period, right?
It's a dangerous first step.
Yes. Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Or, for example, if I tried to learn calculus on my own, I would have a bear of a time. I did much better when I had an instructor. So I could constantly pepper them with questions and get an instantaneous response instead of kind of going through this process of, okay, I don't know, let me see if I find the answer. And I got to make sure it's the right answer. Because a lot of YouTube tutorials and stuff, sometimes they skip steps. And sometimes those steps are very crucial that allow you to bridge one step to another. And where do you figure out, like, okay, I got to pay someone, or I got to pay for a class, or I need to enroll in a community college course?
Well, I think Sarah sort of obliquely got to what my answer to that would be. And Bart Buchatz, as I've mentioned quite a few times, is doing a course with me called Programming by Stealth. We're 75 or so episodes in an audio podcast learning how to program, which sounds crazy, but it actually works because he has really good tutorial notes. But what he's been trying to do is take the training wheels off and not give us answers. Like he'll give us things in the homework to do that he hasn't taught us how to do, or there's a big, like a leap from here to here that you don't know the answer to. And what he's trying to get us to do, and I complain to him about all the time though, is to find it in the documentation. Learn to read documentation is one of his big things. And so that's a big piece of it. But if a product is not well documented, that's where I think some handholding can come in. And I think the important thing to remember is that, like you said, Sarah, everybody is different. Everybody learns differently. And my favorite example of this is that my buddy Niraj and I used to work together on web development, and we discovered we were miscommunicating constantly because I speak in Cartesian coordinates and he speaks in color. So I would say, go to the upper left-hand corner, and he would say, press the blue button. Well, if he said press the blue button, I couldn't find it because I wasn't looking for blue. What do you mean blue? And he didn't know what I meant by going to the upper left-hand corner. So we had to learn to speak each other's language when teaching each other. It was really, really interesting.
It is interesting. Well, you know who else is interesting? Everyone who participates in our subreddit, because you submit all sorts of stories. You can submit them. You can vote on others as well at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/dailytechnewsshow. Real quickly, Martin submitted an email to our mailbag and says, hearing about the test store yesterday, he was talking about Walmart, reminded me that 5 months ago, there seemed to be a big push from the Walmart Tech Labs advertising and software engineering podcast and on LinkedIn and websites as recruitment and to change their perspective in the developer community as somewhere to work in cool technology. In any case, just adding a little more info, it looks like they may have gotten some good talent. Allison, I don't know. Do you think Walmart is kind of new, cool, hip? Have they reinvented themselves?
Well, it's starting to feel like it. I mean, they're not dead yet, right? They're still thriving. So
very, very much not dead yet.
I like to hear that they are doing the AI stuff though, because at least they're getting into something that is could be a competitive advantage and keep the competition alive. That's
absolutely. I with all of the with all the folks who are shopping there regularly, to have more options is a good thing, especially because in many cases, at least the retail experience, Walmart might be your only option. One option that we love to have on Fridays is Len Peralta. Let's check in with you, Len. You've been drawn throughout the show. What do you got for us today?
Well, I have Avengers Endgame on the mind, top of mind here. And we're also talking about the best way to learn how to use a computer or your tech. And of course, everybody knows that the best way is to have Thanos teach you. And that is what the image is today. It's Thanos and little Gamora, and he's teaching her about which is actually my first computer was the IBM 8088 PC computer, which was at the time the most powerful computing machine available to mankind, perfectly balanced with a 2400 baud modem that can log you into BPSs and hack into your neighbor's spreadsheet programs. So
that is awesome.
So this is available not only at my online store at lenperaltastore.com, but if you're a Patreon backer at the $5 level, you can get this right now. You can download it right now. And all you do is back me up patreon.com/Len.
By the way, if you go to Google right now and you Google Thanos, click on the glove on the right-hand side and you'll have a treat. You have to sit and wait for it though.
Super cool. Super cool.
It is super cool.
Thank you, Len Peralta. Wonderful work as always. So good to have you. And also so good to have Allison Sheridan. Boy, you have been contributing to DTNS quite a bit this week. Let folks know where they can keep up with all the rest of your work.
Well, the best way to find me is at podfeet.com. Everything good starts with podfeet.com. But I want to give a special plug about Macstock Expo. This is a Mac Apple-centric gathering in Woodstock, Illinois, right outside of Chicago. It's July 27th and 28th. It is my favorite thing of the year, other than like my own birthday. And if you use discount code PODFEET, you can get some money off. It's a small conference. It's only a few hundred people. It's a great fun vibe. There's classes, there's parties, there's karaoke. You don't know what's going to happen. It's a really, really good time. Check it out at macstockexpo.com.
We appreciate everybody who supports the show. You can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/support. As Tom always mentions, and I'll do it today because it's in his absence, our goal each month is to get one more patron, just one more or more, but at least one more than last month. You could be that person that helps us get over the top. Become a DTNS member and get an ad-free RSS feed. You can get special episodes from Tom on how we do the show, how the sausage is made. Special episodes looking back on tech news of the past, and a whole lot more. Sign up at patreon.com/DTNS. If you have feedback for us, our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. If you'd like to join us live, well, I've got good news because we're live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 20:30 UTC. And you can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. We'll be back on Monday with Jenn Cutter. Talk to you then. Good night, Rob.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Frog Pants Network. Get more shows like this at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
And how?
There we go. Was that music really loud to everybody else?
Yes.
It was, yeah.
I couldn't hear Sarah at all.
I couldn't hear myself
Sorry,
all that much,
sorry.
but I just kept going.
I apologize.
Well,
It's
don't
because
apologize.
Google Hangouts is kind of wonky, and sometimes it automatically amplifies if it's too low.
Mm.
Like you'll just blow it up. And
That's true.
Okay,
And
it's doing like an
unfortunately,
auto leveling thing.
yeah.
Who is Rob?
Oh.
Rob. You don't know Rob.
Good
Where
night,
have you
Rob.
been?
Rob DeMillo, who's a occasional guest, a regular guest. He had mentioned to us the last time he was on, like a month ago, that he listens to the show at night.
Oh, okay. Hence
So
good night,
so
Rob.
Len's sort of joke about Good Morning Julia became Good Night Rob.
Good night, Rob.
Wait, who's Good Morning Julia?
You have to.
Oh,
another
let's
pop-
see.
We don't even go there. We'll
It's a
just
stacked meme.
Yeah.
Wait a second, Allison. Are you saying you don't listen to every single show of ours in great detail?
I do. I don't always hear the intro though.
No. It's
Usually
it's
good. Yeah, it's usually during Good Day Internet. is when
Mm.
totally giving you grief. Yes. So Good Morning Julia. Len, how do we even describe?
Good Morning,
Good morning,
Julia is a video that a gentleman made for a young woman. It's nothing. There's nothing bad about it. It's just really cringy. I guess that's the best way to say.
It's cringier than creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy, a much older man, went and chased down this girl at the gym, and then got her phone number, and the very next morning recorded a video basically professing his love for her.
Yeah.
And he-
Not creepy.
And he starts it off by saying, "Good morning, Julia. It's me." I forget his name. Joe. It's me, Joe. So every time now we do Good Morning Internet or Good Day Internet, I say,
What-
"Good morning, Julia."
And then we say Good night, Rob.
Good night, Rob.
Just in case you're going to
Going to
slumber,
bed. Good night,
listening to the show.
night,
All right.
I'm looking at titles.
Yeah, let's do that.
I like Facebook means never having to say you're sorry. Has that been used before?
I don't know. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. That's from Fred.
All right, Fred. I'm voting on that one.
Filing your taxes for free isn't too intuitive. Nice.
Clever.
Facebook too big for its breaches. Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Kind of good.
That's really good too.
Ooh.
You know, you could save one of those for later because, like tomorrow,
Yeah.
the next thing Facebook does badly,
Yeah,
right?
right. Yes.
Oh.
There's never we never have too many clever Facebook titles.
Ooh, treat yourself by teaching yourself.
There you go.
Okay.
Rude scooters. That's fun to say. That's the name
is.
of my cover band.
Rude scooters.
Isn't that a good name?
It's like
Wasn't Scooter one of
sounds
the
like a ska band.
wasn't Scooter one of the Muppets?
Yes.
Or
He
isn't?
was-
I'm not
Scooter
sure
was the
Scooter's still
guy
around.
who was responsible. He was the stage manager.
yes,
Like, he was the guy
that's
trying to
right.
get
Yeah.
everyone-
Scooter was kind of the
He was the competent one.
Yeah, he was a Mr. Fix It. Scooter would always take care of stuff. That's right. Man, I love the Muppet Show.
So which one do you want to go with?
I'm kind of thinking Facebook too big for its breaches.
I
What do
can
you
go
think,
either
Allison?
way. I can go either way, but definitely say Facebook means never having to say you're sorry and give Fred credit because, like I said, tomorrow is another day.
I love it.
Well, Facebook sort of said sorry in this case. I mean, at least by disclosing some data issues to the country of Ireland. All right, let's go with Facebook too big for its breaches.
I need a GDI title.
And a GDI title. What did we
Poke
talk about
first.
before?
Oh, I wrote that down. So let me see.
I just saw poke first, by the way. That was good because that was one of the things somebody said about how they learn. Poke first.
Oh, yes. Which is I think it was Kelsey, right? That's who you said it was.
Kaylee.
At least in Kaylee. I'm with Kaylee. I mean, I poke first. Just see if I can figure it out. Often I can't. Then I start watching weird YouTube videos.
We talk about Avengers Endgame, dog eating things, dramedies like Northern Exposure, and shows that we feel a kinship with.
Oh, all right. Well, we
None
don't
of the
have a
topics
lot of
are
those
about
in
that.
here, which just goes to show you how compelling our actual show was.
Pacific Heights.
Pacific Heights, yeah.
Full Pacific Heights. Full House.
The whole wiffle ball?
Oh, Beatmaster points out if you use Endgame in the title, it could prevent people from listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Nick with the C says no Endgame spoilers here.
There you go.
That's
That's spelling it out because there weren't.
But
Definitely
the
weren't.
people who get the GDI are people who subscribe or support the show, so they already know there's no Endgame.
That's true.
Stuff in it. Except for the secret twist. No. I haven't even seen the movie.
All I'll say about the movie,
married.
bring some Kleenex with you. For sure.
Great. This is
cry.
a crying movie. No, thank you. I've had it.
I didn't think that it would affect me.
Stop him from talking about this movie. I'm going to do it. I got to see a screening of The Big Bang Theory, the fourth to the last episode.
Ooh.
And it was fascinating because it's a live audience and it's the longest running show with a live audience. And so our job is to laugh. And so they would show us a scene and we would laugh and then they would do a cut and they do some stuff and they'd do it again. And they'd say, okay, first time you've ever heard these jokes, let's go. And we do it again. But you saying about crying made me think of it. At one point they said something really sad and the whole audience went, oh, like that. And they stopped us and went, no, we only want your laughter. We weren't allowed to. I was like, well, don't do sad stuff then. The show's closing down. So there's a whole lot of moments in it.
Yeah.
Wait,
how many seasons is that?
That was going to be my question too. Like the live audience, that's the longest running sitcom with a live audience?
A live audience, yeah. As
No
of like
way.
the week before the one we did. So we were fourth to last. So whatever was right before that.
I have to admit, I didn't realize the show was still going.
Yeah. I thought when you're in syndication for like 4 years, that meant your show.
It probably had ended at some time. You know,
I did get kind of out of it for a while. I was embarrassed when I went there because I hadn't seen like the last 4 episodes. And so I'm like, okay, what are their names again? You know, and everybody else here is crazy Uber fans.
I don't know. I could never get into that show. I can't say I hated the show, but I just could never get into it.
I understood why normal people like it. I mean,
I find that it's very polarizing. You're either a really big fan or you're like, this isn't funny. And I'm kind of somewhere in the middle where I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes it's on. Like maybe I don't watch it regularly, but maybe I'm flipping around like with an airplane, TV option or or not. You just kind of, you're wherever you are and you're like, there's half an hour for this. And I find it amusing.
I love it. I mean, as a nerd, that's why I didn't understand why other people liked it. because
Yeah,
it's,
but like I'm a pretty nerdy guy, and I can't laugh at that show at all.
well, but I mean, like
Yeah.
physics
Well,
jokes
there's
and stuff.
there's-
Certain
I think
types.
it's forcefully nerdy, and I think that is a turnoff for some people,
Yeah,
and
like-
for other people, they think it's funny.
Like I hate forced sentimentality, like schmaltz in movies.
Right.
Like where
Yeah.
it's like, all right, guy's dying. I guess I should feel some sort of like pathos, but it's like no, I just want to get out of here, grab a hot dog, and go home.
I hate to say this, the only thing I don't like about Big Bang Theory is the laugh track. Because
They have a live audience. What do they need a laugh track for?
Well, I mean, there is a track that has the live audiences laughing on it. I'm calling that a laugh track.
Yeah.
So you're saying you wish that there just wasn't a live audience.
Well, or they would just bring it down, because it'll be like they spoke and then and brings down with everybody. It's just too much. It's in your face. I did not make that suggestion to them, though.
I lost both my legs to a car accident. Ha 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 ha. Yeah.
I remember
oddly inappropriate.
I remember back in the day when well, I'm going to use the Cosby Show because that was just the first one that came to my mind, but it was like Cosby Show is filmed before a live studio audience. Remember? Because there were certain shows that didn't have that, and so the shows that did wanted you to know
Big thing.
this is real laughter with real people
So this
in a
is the
studio.
thing I never understood. Why don't they just reverse the camera and get a shot pan of the crowd? Right? If you're truly a live studio audience,
But who wants
Right? Yeah.
That's breaking the fourth wall in a way that doesn't.
They
add to
already
the
broke the
plot.
fourth wall when they told you shot in
Do it
front of
during
a
the
live studio
credits.
audience.
Yeah, you could do it. You could do it before or after the show.
Suppose.
No one,
Yeah.
besides on the Cosby Show, no one has that many sensible sweaters to fill up the season without
Well,
I
repeating.
remember a day when Steve asked for Bill Cosby sweaters for Christmas. I want the ones like what Bill wears.
Somebody actually, I was wearing a sweater. It wasn't the other day because it was colder. But somebody was like, "Nice Bill Cosby sweater, Sarah," and I was like, "Excuse you." Like,
Let me have my good
I was so
Jello
offended.
pudding
I'm like,
snack.
this is a cool sweater because, at this point, that's not really like a thing I want anybody to say about anything that I'm wearing. But then later I was like, I guess it is kind of a Bill Cosby sweater, kind of.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for a walk because I've been sitting all day, and I need to move.
Do you
Well,
need to
all
think
right.
more about the end game and weep a few more tears?
Yeah,
I
bring
do.
some Kleenex with you.
I
with
need
you,
to talk
Len.
to somebody who's seen it because
Well, it's not me.
I know I need to kind of
Yeah.
unload and be like, here's what I think. Oh my gosh. But if you guys see it this weekend, you'll really enjoy it. I really
I
enjoy it.
will.
What if
I
we
will,
see it
I will
next week?
try.
Not
Next week,
Will you
hopefully
enjoy
it won't be spoiled by then. But it's if you've watched all the movies, this is like
What if I watched most of the movies?
you'll still be okay. Just as long as you saw the main tentpole ones, I think it'll be okay. Yeah,
I watched Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's
a good one to
That's
watch.
a good
actually.
movie.
That's a good one to watch.
Love that.
Captain Marvel's a good one to watch.
Have not seen that one. I saw clips of it, and I'm still
Yeah.
on the fence.
Here's the thing: you don't even really need to know that much about Captain Marvel to.
This is the thing. I know pretty much everything about all the characters because I used to read them in high school and college and now, but I don't know all that much about what they showed in the movies. So, like, I've seen the Avengers, I've seen Black Panther, I've seen all the Thors and all the Iron Mans and Captain America, Winter Soldier.
Well, I'm waiting to hear after this weekend passes, then some of the other things.
Well,
come
you're
out.
gonna be able to talk to Tom, and you two can have friend time with each other as you discuss the
Yvonne,
movie.
he's in
Hey, wait! This just in. Big news. Tim DG says Big Bang showed a picture of the live audience once during the credits to prove it wasn't a laugh track.
Oh, see.
Oh,
Wow.
There you go.
All right.
All right.
Good.
Well, we have a live audience, but I can't show it to you because,
They're all over the world.
all over the world. But we'll catch you next week when Tom is back. Until then, see everyone on the live video stream.
Bye.